time is passing. I know every autumn people say, wow, that year just flew by, but this time it really did. Every month and season just kind of blurred together for me, but I still managed to fit in time for plenty of great games. A surprising amount of my friends and family moved, and I went on an unbelievable amount of IKEA trips. My pet sitting job took me away from my PC a lot and allowed me to finally play some Switch games I'd been meaning to get around to. Here Comes Nico was exactly what it said on the box, a cozy 3D platformer for tired people. Enjoyed that. Pokemon Legends and Pokemon Scarlet were pretty cool new ways to play Pokemon, but I have to be honest, I like that they constantly add new Pokemon, but I still just prefer the grid-based linear style of the old games. Redout 2 was like Redout on drugs, assuming the drugs is weed, and Mage Quit was one of the best game concepts I've ever seen with some of the worst execution. There are 5 games I wish could be on this list. Arrow GPX feels like a perfectly faithful spiritual successor to F-Zero X and GX, 2 of my favorite games of all time. It doesn't have a release date, but it does have a playable demo. Mina the Hollower, this is by the Shovel Knight people, and it looks like an old Game Boy era adventure game. Overwatch 2 is still in early access. I'm gonna wait for the full game's release to talk about it. I would put Slay the Spire here again if I could, and Elden Ring, I just genuinely didn't have the time this year. But you can expect to see 4 of these games on my top 10 lists over the next couple of years, just not yet. I've already mentioned 10 games that aren't here, and I still haven't started the list yet. Don't worry though, this year's list is still going to be wild. Like I mentioned, I spent a lot of time away from my PC this year, so I decided to start carrying my Switch around. So I decided to buy Nintendo Online. So I decided to start playing Mario Kart 8 on my own. Just one bad decision after another. And speaking of bad decisions, the coin is still here. Really though, as far as racing games go, Mario Kart has always been one of my favorites. It controls well and is an excellent all-ages battle racing party game that people take way too seriously. Who the hell is looking up the Mario Kart meta? If I see one more Waluigi on a Wiggler bike, I'm going to lose my mind. I feel like it might play against my credibility to include a game in my top 10 games of the year that I only played 3 times throughout the year, but I really did enjoy 100% of the time I spent playing this game. It's quick and chaotic with very little downtime, and it's currently my favorite couch multiplayer game behind Smash, as rare as those actually are to get to play these days. Mini Motorways allows you to experience the nightmare of being stuck in traffic from the safety and comfort of your own home. Every game starts slow, relaxed, easy. Give it 10 minutes and shit starts to fall apart. You are managing 50 different routes at once. You'll find the traffic lights and roundabouts that were supposed to be saving you are only making your life harder. You'll be asking the cars out loud why they aren't moving, and then you'll lose. Dark Souls might be the least approachable franchise, not because of the difficulty, but because Dark Souls fans are scary. I went into this game blind, and then proceeded to make the wrong build, and then level up the wrong way, and then use the wrong weapon. I don't know how I'm somehow the only person on the planet who doesn't know everything about Dark Souls. Admittedly, I have more complaints about this game than things I enjoyed. Why are the things that shoot you able to read your mind? Why sometimes does one of these guys aggro onto me and sometimes all 3 are trying to kill me? Why, when you pause the game, even if you're in offline mode, does it not stop the game? I mean, I died more times because my cat was trying to get into my closet than I did to any of the bosses. As much as I grumble and ramble while playing it, it is unbelievably satisfying to beat the bosses in this game. And the combat is perfectly challenging. I don't know why people call Dark Souls unfair. I would call it perfectly fair. Every time I see an enemy, there is an equal chance they kill me or I kill them. See? Perfectly fair. Also, I don't know why you can kick in this game. I've never once wanted to do it. Dark Souls enjoyers are probably really mad hearing me talk about the game like this, and they're about to be livid when they see what game I ranked above it. Stray is a short adventure game where you play as a cat. Now firstly, I will say I'm very defensive with cats. If you so much as mildly inconvenience this little guy, I will cry. Well, fuck. The gameplay of Stray is simple. You just navigate this world as a cat, but the cat actually moves like a cat. The weight and speed feel very good. I really enjoyed most of the characters and the interactions. A lot of this game is very cute. It does have combat, but it's far from the focus, and overall it's a pretty easy experience. Stray is what Lost Ember would have been if Lost Ember was any good, okay. I have been told that this game is a buggy mess by a lot of people who haven't played it, and also from a lot of articles and other reviews, and maybe I just got lucky, but I personally never got one. Except this. It's just something to note if you're planning to play it. Oh, nice break. Now, having a cat as the main character is great and all, but having a playable cat is not what makes this game so good. What really actually makes this game stand out is its atmosphere. Stray's soundtrack is one of the best collections of ambient music I've heard from a game, easily meeting some of my previously mentioned favorites. The audio and visual design gives you a sense of massive scale, but at the same time it can present a very claustrophobic and dark feeling. The visual storytelling perfectly paints a picture of the world you're in right from the start. It's ancient, but it's advanced. Sometimes lonely, sometimes populated. It's overgrown and beautiful. It's eerie and uncomfortable. And sometimes it's Inscription is a spooky, scary game, but it's also a very weird game. It's not something I want to spoil for you, but just look at this roguelike deck building gameplay and just remember what Slay the Spire did to us. I love the style of Cult of the Lamb. It's a game so rooted in horror, and yet it's adorable. Similarly to how it blends its style, it mixes together an action roguelike with a management game, often compared to Binding of Isaac and Animal Crossing, two games that I don't play. Cult of the Lamb may not have the depth or infinite replayability it could have, but the combat feels great and the base building is satisfying, and personally, I like the simplicity. But the music, oh my god, the soundtrack. Again, it is split into two distinct styles. The home base music is comfortable and safe and filled with a lot of gentle wood instruments, and then you have the dungeon crawling music full of distorted and dark synth. And yet the style remains its own, and the entire soundtrack sets you deep in the woods. No matter how comfortable or active the music is, the aura is eerie and haunting start to finish. The game also has a good spread of weapon variety. The bosses and dungeons are fun to go up against. There's a great cast of characters, and even Mad Rat Dead makes an appearance. In Death's Door, you play as a crow. Besides that, there's just nothing crazy or terribly different from what you would expect from a game. It's just really well made and incredibly fun, and it's reminiscent of old Legend of Zelda games. Each area is crafted with so much care and polish. Each character is charming and enjoyable to interact with. The map is full of beautiful designs and several secrets to discover. This unforgettable world, paired with its amazing soundtrack, is a perfect setting for this adventure, and reminds me specifically of some of the most fantastical Studio Ghibli films. Seriously, I know I always go off about soundtracks, but this game's music is so nice. Death's Door is one of the most visually pleasant and overall enjoyable games I played this year, and now that I've beat it, I cannot wait to continue playing it to 100%. There are 1 million open world games. Every big new game that comes out seems to want to be open world. When I see that, I am incredibly skeptical. These companies do not put enough thought into a game to actually take advantage of the freedom of having an open world. A lot of them leave me wondering why they didn't just make the game linear. One of the shining examples of a game that truly benefits from this style is Breath of the Wild. Unlike a lot of open world games, Breath of the Wild does not punish you for using the freedom you're given. You're welcome to go about any challenge any way, and basically the only limiter is the stamina bar, which as you upgrade is the most natural feeling advancement in the game. Bird people. So much of my enjoyment of this game came from exploring and discovering new puzzles and secret places and just wandering around the massive landscape. I love that bringing enough food to heal as you burn is a genuine option for traversing heat. I love that the flaming sword increases your temperature. I love the stasis rune, and I wasted a lot of time trying to get it to work for everything. And I love that they managed to offer this level of freedom while still putting actual thought into almost every mechanic. That freedom though at the end of the day is what ruined the game for me, because I just accidentally walked into the final boss and ended the game with one of the worst final boss fights I've ever played. Much like my current review of it, the ending makes me question if the game was actually that good, but I have not forgotten how amazing it was while I was playing it. When I first played Outer Wilds in 2019, I didn't like it. I lost interest pretty quick. I came back to it this year and had the best game experience of my life. It offers almost too much freedom, to the point that if you aren't in the mood for this kind of game, come back to it later. Your only goal is to explore, and the only thing pushing you to explore is your own curiosity. Outer Wilds puts you in the world and says, okay, here you go. And where you go from there is up to you. You're immediately presented with 5 very distinct and explorable planets on top of other moons and stations, and each one immediately poses a question. Your exploration in search of answers to that question will lead you to mystery after mystery, and over the course of the game you will begin to connect the pieces, build the story, and discover what your end goal is. Outer Wilds plays like a puzzle. The driving force for the game is the satisfying snap of pieces fitting perfectly together. It's a game that you absolutely have to enter blind, as learning how the world works is half the game. But even after finishing it, I've gone through it again and again, and every time I complete it, the ending is overwhelming. I wish I could show it. The gameplay is fun, the worlds are beautiful, the characters are alright, the atmosphere is incredible, and the music is perfect. If it's a game you plan to experience, I am begging you to go in blind. If I had played the Echoes of the Eye DLC any other year, Outer Wilds would have been my game of the year again. It adds another planet and a half worth of exploration to do, and enough of that same mystery and discovery to fill an entire game's worth. I can't show you anything, but it's an amazing DLC that adds a new set of puzzles and a new set of rules for you to learn after you finish the main game. I will warn you though, it's spooky.